Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be having a little bit of a look at a new Rhyperia. Although, actually, we need to have a look at Rhyhorn as well, because Rhyhorn might be better. So if we start off with Rhyperior and we have a look at the basics here, we got 170 HP, which is big. Very high for a stage 2 at the moment, with the added bonus that you have got a retreat cost of 4, and that means that you can use buff padding to give yourself an extra 50 HP, which is rather nice indeed. You've got a weakness to grass, which honestly is not a huge problem at the moment. There's still the odd kind of Tapu Bulu running around, and you see some Dalmais here and there, but honestly, it's not a bad weakness to have, ladies and gentlemen. It's really not a bad weakness to have at the moment. And you're a fighting type. That means Brooklet Hill to get your basics out. That means Diancie Prism Star to do an extra 20 damage. That means that you're hitting weakness on Zoroark and Pikachu and Zekrom, who might just be the best two Pokemon in the format at the moment. And all of a sudden, we're looking at this and going, yeah, this is really nice. High HP, high retreat cost, which is good nowadays, incidentally, as long as it gets to 4. 3 is bad, 4 is good. Good typing to be hitting. A lot to like about Rhyperia. But what does it actually do? Well, there's one attack on Rhyperia that I like very much indeed. I should mention that our translation here comes from the lovely David Hochmann over at limitlesstcg.com/translations. Always a good place to check out. And what it does for 1 fighting, 2 colorless energy, 90 damage. If the defending Pokemon is a basic Pokemon, it cannot attack during your opponent's next turn. It stops basic Pokemon attacking, and at this stage you might have noticed, hang on a second, aren't all of those Tag Team GX's basic Pokemon? Why, yes. Yes, they absolutely are. Now, to be honest, if you end up against a Pikachu and Zekrom, it's probably not gonna really matter, because with a choice band you're up to 120, with weaknesses 240, and you're getting a one-hit KO. Against the Zoroark here, you don't actually need a choice band. Diancie Prism Star will put you up to 110. That's 220 with weakness, and that will be a one-hit KO on Zoroark. So in that regard, we're doing pretty well. If you're hitting weakness, life is good. The issue here becomes if you're not hitting weakness. And the answer very simply is, look, if you're against an evolved Pokemon, it ain't good. 90 damage for free energy on a stage 2 isn't good enough. But if you're against a basic like Celebi and Venusaur, for instance, you're looking nice. Now Celebi and Venusaur, they can one-hit KO. You know they can't, because you stop basic Pokemon attacking. Now, the translation we got from David here is, if the defending Pokemon is a basic Pokemon, it cannot attack during your opponent's next turn. So that means that if they switch their active, they'll be fine. If they do something like play a Guzma, pop up a free retreating Pokemon and retreat, or just Guzma into another Pokemon, they'll be absolutely fine. It's only if their current active stays in the active that they'll be unable to attack next turn. But let's take Celebi and Venusaur as an example. How often is that going to happen? How often are they going to have 2 Celebi and Venusaur just ready to attack? Not that often, if I'm honest with you. And they got a high retreat cost as well. And most of these Tag Team GXs do. So you're not going to get multiples of these set up regularly. And that's kind of what's good about Rhyperia here. Make no mistake about it, when you find yourself up against evolved Pokemon, this gets significantly weaker. But against basic Pokemon, this is great. When you're hitting for weakness, this is great. The downside here, and unfortunately it is a fairly significant downside, you're a stage 2 and it's not for a single energy attachment. Now, the stage 2 are all playing Alolan Ninetales at the moment. That can search out your rare candy, and Alolan Vulpix can search out your Pokemon, and it's not the end of the world. Stage 2s are more reliable than they've been for a while. You can even use something like Macargo. But the fact of the matter is, you're still a stage 2. And you can use double colorless energy, and that's great, But you need something more than this. You need double colorless energy and a fighting energy, and we don't have good, reliable ways to accelerate fighting energy right now, which I see as a little bit of a problem. If you can get big one-hit KOs for 2 or 3 prizes, it's totally worth it. And if you can find yourself against a basic deck, yeah, this is really nice. But there are plenty of decks that aren't basic, and that's a problem. If you find yourself against a quadblacephalon deck, yes, that is a thing in Japan at the moment. It's because of Green Search. We'll be getting it in the next set. Then you're going to be loving this. But if you find yourself against a Lycanroc deck, I mean, that's just not good. That is not going to lead to victory, and that is going to be a problem. A problem which could be solved with the second attack. 160 damage, and it does 20 damage to each of your benched Pokemon. And I like it. Now, the 160 is alright. With a Choice Band, you're up to 190. There's a one-hit KO on something like a Buzzwole. With a Diancie Prism Star, you're up to 210. And something like Lycanroc goes down. Not to mention, you can always use Shrine of Punishment with it being a non-GX to spread a bit more damage around. And it's not a huge one-hit KO on everything, but you're hitting enough numbers here to make this absolutely worthwhile. The problem is, it's a fighting and 3 colorless. And I just told you that a fighting and 2 colorless was a bit too expensive. Fighting and 3 colorless is unfortunately an issue. And this is my big reservation. I like the attack that stops basics attacking. I just worry it's too expensive. And if that's too expensive, this definitely is too expensive. Now, the good news is 20 damage to each of your bench Pokemon. Hey, remember I showed you that Stunfisk a moment ago? Recently anyway. And that Stunfisk does 30 damage for each of your Pokemon that's got any damage counters on. So actually, if you're playing something like Stunfisk and that attack is just for a double colorless energy, which you're going to be playing with Rhyperior anyway, that's a good partner here. I just think this attack is too expensive. But what might actually be even better is Rhyhorn. Rhyhorn here for a double colorless energy. Discard the top card of your opponent's deck, but if you play Giovanni's Banishing during this turn, you discard 4 more cards. You are milling the top 5 cards of your opponent's deck. Yeah. That's pretty gosh darn tasty. Now, like the Gloom we looked at recently, I want to mention it here because it fits into this video. Incidentally, do let me know in the comment section, do you like it when I chuck these pre-evolutions in, or would you rather they had their own video straight away? Let me know. We are going to have to talk about this in more detail at some point in the future, but I wanted to mention it here. And I like this, because here's the thing. We talked about Diglett the other day, link in the description, and Diglett, when you banish it with Giovanni's Banishment, you get to discard the top card of your opponent's deck. So let's say, for argument's sake, you've got 2 of the new Diglett on your bench, and then you play Giovanni's Banishment to discard both of them, and that discards the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. And then you use this attack, and now you're discarding the top 5 cards of your opponent's deck. That's a bit nuts good. And all these reservations I had about Rhyperior, it's a stage 2, it's not for 1 energy attachment, they're gone. Because this is a stage 1, and it's for a single energy attachment. Incidentally, you've also got Giovanni in the artwork here, like we saw for Diglett, which is awesome. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are rolling. This, I think, has more potential. We could start to make a mill deck here. I told you the other day that Diglett on its own isn't good enough. But remember how we all played Durant when Durant could discard the top 4 cards of your opponent's deck? This is 5, and that's not including the Diglett. You do need to bear in mind here that if you're playing Giovanni's Banishment every turn, firstly, you're going to need Palpad to recover them. Secondly, you're going to need to be playing stuff like Macago, Pidgeotto, etc., because you cannot be playing draw supporters. If you're behind on prizes, you can play Lieutenant Surge's strategy, which does let you play 2 draw supporters in addition to itself. And you've got to be behind on prizes, but that's not really a problem, because if you're playing a mill deck, you're not really taking prizes, and you probably will be behind on prizes. And if you're really worried, Played a Numis Magius, which KOs itself and draws till you've got 7 cards in hand. There we go. Now you're behind on prizes. And if you never draw a prize, you can't go behind on prizes. Link to that one in the description as well. So I do think there's a beginning of a mill deck here, playing Giovanni with Diglett and Rhyhorn here. It's good. I like Rhyperior, but I worry that it's one of these good attack, stage 2 too expensive, never sees play. I'm going to be giving Rhyperior 3 Wossies because as much as it's got potential, and it does, I worry it's not quite going to prove to be good enough. Rhyhorn, we're actually going to go away from what we should be doing and give it between 3 and 4 Wossies. We don't give half Wossies, that would be barbaric. There is some real interesting milling potential here, and I, for one, am very, very excited indeed. But I would like to know how excited you are, so please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! But please do remember the rule, ladies and gentlemen. Be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about games that don't have Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.